Welcome to the game dev stream of Volatile for March 9th, 2021. Last time I streamed, I was actually working on some art for the elevator in the main base. But today, what we're gonna do is essentially just work on fixing some bugs, actually working on making a boss a bit threatening, a mini boss in the game. So I'm just saving some work that I did earlier. And actually, I just want to test something before I start working on that mini boss. I turned off the music so we can work in peace. So I can work in peace. Alright. Oh, one of them actually started in the right place. That's good, that's good. Okay, so what boss am I working on today? Good question. See, the big problem is I don't know where to find my objects. I get so wrapped up into working on this and that that I now just completely lost track of what I'm trying to find. Great. So I have every single other enemy type built in, and I don't have the boss. Wonderful. Oh, it's right there. Alright, this should actually be renamed because I decided to call these guys the shell. So I'm gonna have to work out a few kinks. So I'm creating the shell. Clickety clack, clickety clack. Alright, and now to make sure all of these actually follow properly. Perfect. So something that I've started a while ago is every time I create an object that needs to be actively controlled by its main object, so essentially this is the shell boss, it creates a separate object that's basically the back layer um, for nicer effects. Give it a pseudo 3D effect essentially. Um, Now where shall we create this? I have so many large assets in the game that it takes forever to save every single time. Alright, well, we know where this is, so we're gonna create the boss somewhere over here. Now, keep in mind that I actually load everything, aside from this area. I actually don't think I have this area visible. I do have this visible in the game, but most of this is not visible. I load pretty much everything in the map here, in this room, via code, because it lets me save and load way easier. And everything that needs to be there every single time, I actually control it via a world create script. So this gets run every time you load a game or when you start a new game. Alright, well, we were working on the boss. So let's place this near the entrance so I can play around with it. That should be fine. And in the new game script, what we're gonna do is so I have temporary codes that just let me start out in different areas. It would be one thing to save and load in the same spot, but honestly I'm not yet finished with saving everything and loading everything. That might be a dev stream soon. Now I'm just gonna make sure that I don't get any errors before I actually start working on it. Alright, so we're at the asteroid base essentially, and this is the boss. So the cannons track you within their little range here, and once they actually hit their limit, they can't rotate any further. So the intent with this boss is that no matter which direction you want to attack from, it'll have some cannons pointing at you, including this little top cannon here that's going to shoot rockets instead of bullets. Well, hello train, I didn't even know your route passed by here. Great. Alright. So what I want to do is actually, let me switch to the other desktop, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a small little radius object, and whenever the player interacts with this radius, let me open this here. Now wait a second, how do I have this saved? The boss. That's something that I'm gonna have to fix later. So the problem that I have with the boss now is that its engines lighting up are actually built as part of the sprite, so I just need to make them two separate sprites. That was a reworking I did a while back. Alright, so let's see what I'm doing here. Actually, what if I just tinker with Alright, I'm going to try something first. Let me try to tinker with shooting, so let's see. Great, no problem. Shell warrior. I'm going to just copy code in terms of what it needs to shoot. Cannon. Nothing. Shell boss bullet. A great way to speed things up is to just copy code and see what happens. Let's see what I have for this. So I have you. So this is the death script, and I think this is your shooting script. Right. Perfect. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have a separate code here, or maybe not actually, because I have everything for the cannons here. That's great. The way I built them is a bit weird. Cannon 1. Alright, so I want to rewrite this with arrays in mind. And what arrays do is, instead of having a separate type of variable for every single number of cannons, you actually have this little identifier here. It basically does the same thing, but it's neater to arrange and to work with. So let me do that first. So we're working with cannon 1, 2, almost typed in 2 again, 4, and 5. Great. So what are we doing here? So changing this to 1, 1. So I'm clamping this. So that's essentially what's helping it from moving too far. So this way is what I can do to control. So if the image angle is image angle plus 40. I'm actually gonna have to test some things out because I don't know. I think I coded it wrong to begin with. Yay. What joy to have to debug things. I'm a little bit of a butterfinger too right now. I'm going to have to figure out how to edit this before it goes on YouTube and essentially skip over parts where I don't talk. And before I do anything else, I'm actually going to try to run this and make sure that I didn't forget any variable or anything like that anywhere. almost forgot these. So you may be wondering, why do I have the cannon's X and Y positions set in the main shell boss object? What I found with GameMaker is actually, I don't understand how steps work. That's basically it, because if I put any sort of commands in the step event of the cannon object, it actually lags behind. So it doesn't update its X and Y position at the same time that the main object that it's following does. So if I actually update everything in this end step event, it it drags the cannons along properly. Is there a better way of explaining things and probably doing things without being a bit cumbersome? I'm sure there is. I just could not wrap my head around how this works. So there we have it. Alright, I have a lot of commented out code, and that's essentially just because I was testing things out at the time. Alright, so let's make sure that nothing breaks. Usually something breaks, so we'll see. I'm sure there's something somewhere. Okay, well, no errors here. Works just fine. Alright, so now that I've renamed all that, let's see what I am going to do about shooting. Perfect. Alright, so what I'm going to have to do is actually, let's do this. So we're going to copy this code because I'm going to try to finagle my way to a proper solution. So let's see, do I want 600? Maybe. For now, we'll do 600. Okay, I guess we're gonna do 400, never mind. So I have some code already set up. Okay, so what it does is it starts following if it's under 400, but stops if it's over 600. And this was before I actually implemented. Alright, let's forget about that. We're gonna do player. That works for me. Because what I want to do is refer to the variable that it's stored the object x and y in. So I'm going to do point distance. I guess point distance works. And I think point distance is better. And the reason why it's better is because if you set it the distance object, that actually tracks towards the nearest pixel. So if, let's say, you rotate your ship, which isn't a perfect sphere, it might trigger on and off because of the angle you're directing your ship. So point distance works better. So we're just gonna copy this. It's easier. Gonna do the same thing here. So the variable player TG is just to track the player targeting system. Make sure that when I say, hey, I'm targeting, then you can start shooting. Gonna have to have alarms, so that is great. I have 5 cannons, so I'm gonna do 6 alarms, one for each cannon and one for the missile launcher. So the way I've been doing things here is essentially creating the alarm events, commenting out any code. You have to have a code in there for it to actually recognize as an alarm, and then setting everything up. So what am I doing? What do I have here? If player targeting F0, yeah, you point, that's fine. What I'm going to do is work on the code separately down here. That's perfect. And then integrate it back up because I want it to look clean, but it's not exactly the cleanest. So how did I set this up? So if you do that, that's fine. So I got shooting steps for the warrior, and that's because it shoots 4 consecutive shots, each from a separate cannon. So that's great, but that's not what I want. How am I doing this? Am I doing... That makes sense. So what I'm gonna do is actually set these up the direction that the cannon is gonna be facing. Essentially because I wanted to shoot... Okay. Sorry for the brain farts there, I'm just thinking of how I want to set this up. How am I doing this? Shoot steps. Okay. I'll explain what I've done once I've actually done it. Right now I'm trying to make sure I follow my own logic. We're gonna be shooting that out from there. Okay, so I see what I'm doing there. Do player, okay. So I've already got the player stored as a variable. That's fine. And sure, we're gonna do alarm 0s20. Actually, let's do 60. And I'll see what happens. So you're that. That's 600? Really? It's a bit too little. But you know what? We're going to... What do we want? What do you want? So what we want is actually to restrict the point direction. So the way we're restricting the image angle here is the way we're going to restrict the direction. Let's actually give that a shot. I'm not even going to change anything. I'm just going to do this. I'm going to restrict the direction it's going. So what am I expecting to... Oh, where'd it go? Oh, I actually had a crash. Not an error crash, just a plain old no error, no nothing, no warning crash. Alright. So what am I expecting to see? I am expecting the... Yes. Oh no. Well, that didn't work as intended. Now, what did I do wrong there? I clamped the direction. I don't think I clamped it right, so... Image angle plus 90. I'm gonna be honest, I don't even know if I know this properly. Let's see. This is gonna be one heck of a trial and error crusade. Clearly the clamping works, I just gotta make sure that I find the right arguments here. I actually did these by hand, by the way. It's image angle plus 47, image angle plus 98. So let's see. I don't know why I'm even... Hold up a second. It's gonna point towards the player, but how about... I want to try something that's just gonna be... We'll see if that works. Man, coffee at 8:40 in the evening is so good. Wait a second, what? Okay, how about plus 90? Because I think that's the problem that I'm facing right now. Okay, so to explain the plus 90 problem, all of my assets are actually pointing forward in the actual PNG files. Sorry, forward, straight up, vertically. So when I load them into GameMaker, instead of me actually creating them to face right, I just add the argument plus 90 for image angle to compensate for that. Okay, that's fine, but it's not okay. What the problem seems to be is, okay, we're creating it too soon, so let's do 30. We're gonna solve the problem while we're here. Okay, so I didn't take into account something. How am I gonna determine if the player is within that range? See, this is why I should have probably just done the image, because that was why I thought about this before. Alright, let's do 50. Let's see where that gets us. Nowhere good, I bet. It looks wonky. I'm not sure what it is. It looks wonky, but it shouldn't. Okay, I'm gonna have to actually test out what I've done for the other enemies. Shell Warrior. There we go. Alright. This one has plenty of bugs too. For example, the cannons always point towards the player no matter what, and that's an easy fix, frankly. I just haven't gotten to it because it doesn't really impact the way the enemy works. Yeah, those bullets ain't moving fast enough. Alright. And I think it's because... So I've messed around with the speed of the main weapon here. Okay, great, but... What's your speed? 20. Amazing. Alright. What do I have you set as? 10. That may be why it looks wonky. It moves way too slow. We're gonna set you to 20 as well. Maybe even faster if I need to. Alright, I gotta think about this. So, what do I want? I want to be able to determine if the player is within that triangle of range. If they are, you can shoot at them. If not, then you don't. So that should move with the ship. Let's see. Let me just switch to the other screen and see what do I really want to do. Now where did I put, there we go. Alright, so we're gonna do pure red because that's how I work best. We're gonna do, so it's probably something like that. Doesn't have to be perfect because at the end of the day, this is going to be an invisible thing that you get to move across. And is this good enough? It's probably good enough. Let me just, so what I want, something like this. And I'm gonna have to keep adjusting this, frankly. Okay. Good enough for now. Who cares? Alright. We're gonna do that. Apply, hold it. Let's save this as this one. Canon range. Save it as a PSD so we can edit what we need and then rotate it. Actually, like this. Alright. That'll do. Now, I'll be real honest, I have no idea where I saved this. Is it under enemies? Hell no. No clue. We're just gonna have to create one and I'll move it way later. Alright, and you will be centered. Let's move it down here. Somewhere. So, what am I doing? I'm creating one right at the bottom there. So the reason I'm naming it range 1 is because I predict that I will have to actually create a number of them depending on what the radius is for each cannon there. Alright, what we're gonna do is set your image alpha to 0.5. Actually, 0.25 might be better. And cannon range 1 equals let's name it boss cannon, because who knows what other type of enemies I'm gonna have to create. Boss 1. Just can't make up my mind. No, it's boss 01. I don't plan on having over 9 bosses, but you never know. Longest object name I think I have so far. Great. Can arrange 1, that's fine. Creating them at X and Y, but I'm going to be moving them. This is not even, what the? Alright. So what I'm gonna do is So again, I'm controlling everything from here. So I'm going to do Y. Alright, let's see. So I'm creating it, I'm dragging it around, I'm making sure that its image angle is the same as the Canon. Alright, first of all, let's see if it actually runs properly, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a little signifier here if the player interacts with it. And I may or may not have to Google what command I have to do. Any moment now. So see again, like the reason it takes so long to compile every time is because of all these large assets, and I keep pumping them in. Like this is like, you know, this would be a full texture back in PlayStation 2 days, 512 by 512. I know mine is a bit smaller, but I just keep putting in textures. Oh, sprites, but still, they serve the same kind of purpose when it comes to loading them into memory. And I'm loading everything into memory every time I run the game. I may have to consider at some point to actually have all resources externally and just load them as each room requires them. We'll see though. That would be a pretty big task that I don't know if I'm ready for. Okay. That is way too big. First of all, I need to delete that. That's getting annoying. I forgot that I left the damage in for every single one of these enemies. Alright, you go bye-bye. So, if I'm understanding correctly, that range ain't the greatest. Alright, first and foremost, let's actually try. If alarm 0. So let me see, how do I have everything set up? Place meeting, right? That's the one. Place meeting. Right, and I keep forgetting about this, but every time I create one of these, I have to check precise collision. Check it, so that it's not the collision mask. And what am I gonna do? Alright, so here's one small thing. Canon range 1.creator equals ID. What does that do? That gives the range object. I'm opening the sprite, that's great. The range object the ability to tell who to communicate with in case it needs to send information back. So we're going to program that, because what I want it to do is say if place meeting x, y, So what I want to do is, now that there's a variable, I'm just going to say creator shoot cannon 1 equals 1. So what's this going to do? It's basically going to say if the player ship actually touches this circle, it's going to trigger this variable that says shoot cannon 1. And we're going to set that variable up right now, because what that's going to do is it's going to allow us to tell when I actually have to shoot at the player. And if it's not meeting the player, I want to make sure that I deactivate the variable so it doesn't keep shooting once it's met its initial meeting. Alright, so if shoot equals 1, so what it's going to do, if I'm right, it's going to try to shoot only when the player meets that. Meets that variable. Now I have it set to what, 600? And it seems way too small, so maybe I should put 900 as the range to shoot. I'm going to try something. It might be because of the zoom that I've been using. I'm going to try not to zoom out, and see if that's why I had it set to such a low number. Alright. Okay. So what do I have to, so I have to create a little range for you guys. Yeah, I said I wouldn't zoom in. Okay, great. Well, what the? So what happened there? Why did it leave it behind for a sec? I have no idea. Why is it not following the player? Oh. That's a bug fix for another day. Okay. I think I like the way that was working out. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna duplicate this. And we're gonna call it shell boss 1 cannon range 2. It's gonna go on the opposite side. So what we're gonna do in the create event is actually we're gonna put image angle, no, image x scale. That should be just fine. And I don't know if that's where I have. It's gonna be interesting to find out. I don't think I need this anyway. I do not, actually, so. We're going to create this. Hold on, we're gonna do shoot cannon 2 because guess what? We actually we'll have a variable for every single one. Getting complicated, but that's what game dev is all about. Should have just named it something way shorter than that. Is it gonna come bite me in the ass later? Probably. Do I care for now? No. I'm just gonna make sure it works. See, this is the benefit of just having this as arrays. You can just copy paste. No need to worry about too much. If you're trying to. First of all, I'm not even sure this is Canon 2 that I want. It's probably Canon 2, but yeah, I think so, because this is the length, the same length, except on the other side. Perfect. So this is that. So what we're going to do is now we're going to set alarm 1, because what we want is if somehow there's two cannons that are pointed at the player at the same time, which would be the front cannons there. We want to be able to shoot them on their own schedule, not wait for one another. That's why we're using separate alarms. Gotta make sure this is changed as well. I can't even tell you the amount of times I've changed just part of a code when copy pasting, and they all worked on a separate alarm. And it's such a simple little fix, but it takes so long to track down sometimes because you just don't know what you did wrong. So that's great. Perfect. Alright, let's see if that works for both. And hopefully maybe I can track down why in certain instances it almost looks like it's forgetting to move the cannon range. Forgot to run it. Great. Well, no, that's fine. Even if it's just a bit off, we're good. so this one has a bit of a range. Perfect. That's that. So what I'm doing now is honestly just trying to make sure that I don't need to actually reuse a bunch of other assets. Let's try. Copying all that. Cannon 3, 3, 3, range 3. Frankly, for tonight, this might be good as is. Let's just do it. So if player turn... Okay, I see why. It's because I have it set so that it only does that when the player is targeted. But how about no? How about you just do that separately outside of that variable? That'll do fairly well. I'm just gonna do that. It's gonna be easier to keep track of it. So screw it. It's perfect. 2 2 2 2 3 3 3. Alright, we're gonna copy this code. We're gonna make sure that, whoops, not cut, copy. So, alarm 2 for cannon 3. Should have just named them cannons 0 to 4 instead of 1 to 5. So that's 3. Let's just start deleting those. Alarm 2. Alright. We're gonna just test this out. But frankly, I think it's good enough that I can just implement them all now, and if I need to adjust the ranges, I'm just gonna adjust them later. Forgot to run that again. I have to wait for it to save everything that I've just done. It creates a backup every time, but you know. Look at Okay, well that was cannon 3. Good enough. So then cannons... These two will probably have to have a way bigger range. Actually, no, they won't, because... Right. Okay. Right, let's do... 4. And you don't have the image angle. Perfect, alright. So we're just gonna change your variable here to 4. And then we're gonna duplicate number 2. Change it to 5. The X scale is right. 5 and 5. And just for ease of use, we're gonna arrange them in the order of their number. The reason this works as well as it does is because when I do load the game, all I have to do is call in the shellbossa1 object, and then it'll do the rest to load everything else it needs to. Its direction, everything. I may go the extra step and try to save all the variables of its the cannons and everything, their position at the time of saving, but I'm gonna see how well it works without doing that and then go from there. Gonna do 4, 4, 4. Alright, let's set up alarm 3 and 4. 3 and 4. Gotta comment out the code if you really want to accomplish things. Right. So I just realized my original intent wasn't exactly to move the actual range with it. So what I could technically do is just have one single strip that moves with the cannon. So if it comes across the player, it just shoots instead of this large angle. Could do that. I may do that, but for now the objective is actually accomplished. Plus I can save this for the actual missile launcher at the front. It can shoot it in if the player is within the range like this. Boy. Okay. Alright, that looks somewhat good. Alright. Let's shrink the warrior there. Let's do... What am I doing? We can set the alarm for every single one of them to something much more agreeable than 60. Let's set it to 20 for now and see how I feel about that. And I'll probably just create a variable that'll hold a specific number in the create event. I can just change that at will and have that variable for every single alarm here. So if I really want to change the frequency of shots, I can just change that variable one time instead of me having to change it every single time. In every single location here for every single cannon. And I keep forgetting to run. I keep thinking, so that's the thing, the progress bar there for loading the game to run and loading the game to, backing up the game while it's preparing it to run and just backing it up because you're saving. It makes me think they're one and the same subconsciously, so I just forget that I actually have to run once I save. That's much better. That's a challenge-ish. So this is going to keep rotating after the player's front. This is there you go, I died. Alright, well, you know what? Mission somewhat accomplished. What I'm going to do is I'm going to uncheck this, make sure that it's not visible. And that should be it for tonight. Thought I'd have a bit more challenge getting this to run, but hey, I'm happy. And I'm just going to make sure that it looks right. I'm probably going to create new bullets for the shell enemies. New visually distinct bullets, probably green, with a bit of a trail effect. So this is going to be a sort of a mini boss. It's going to be accompanied by a bunch of the other smaller enemies. So yeah, all I need to do now is just adjust the ranges. Probably just make it bigger. It sounds right to me. Yep, that's it. Alright, well, mission accomplished. I'm glad that it worked out as well as it did for tonight. So long, everybody. See you in the next broadcast.